Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I am Nick from Australia. Tonight's video is going to be my top 5 favourite NRL finals games of all time that I have witnessed. Now, before I get into that, I just want to say that I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Hope you guys have all had a great Christmas day. It's currently 7:30 in the afternoon, going into Friday night now. So I hope you guys have all had a fantastic Christmas day. Anyway, let's get into tonight's video. It's going to be my top 5 favourite NRL finals games that I have seen as a bloke growing up, as a kid, and also some of these games that I remember very well as a older person. Majority of these games are preliminary finals and a couple of grand finals in this video. So without further ado, let's get into it, and we'll start off with number 5. My 5th favourite NRL finals game ever is the 2015 preliminary final where the Cowboys defeated the Melbourne Storm in Melbourne, 32 points to 12. Going into this game, the Melbourne Storm were very hot favourites to win this game. The Cowboys had a bit of a good momentum at the time. They finished third that year. They lost the first week of the finals to the Broncos, 16-12 up at Suncorp Stadium. Then the second week of the finals, they played Cronulla up at 1300 Smiles Stadium. They smashed them 39-0. So the Cowboys had all the momentum, while Melbourne, they had it pretty easy. They knocked off the Roosters in the qualifying final in Sydney. I think it was 20 points to 18. Melbourne had the week off. They were fresh. They were favourites going into this preliminary final against the Cowboys. And the Cowboys had no injuries. Melbourne didn't really have anyone out as well. And, you know, it was a good game. The first half was fantastic. And it was anyone's game. I think Cooper Cronk scored the first try. Then Thurston set up Justin O'Neill. And then I think Thurston set up O'Neill again. I think we were up. And I think Melbourne scored. And then I think Kevin Cooper scored before half-time. And I think the Cowboys had 14-12 at half-time. And then in the second half, Cowboys scored a try for Kyle Feld. And then Marika Korobidi had a brain explosion. He got sin bin. And Michael Morgan scored off a charge down. And then Thurston set up Cooper late in the game. And the Cowboys ended up smashing the Storm in Melbourne, 32-12 in the preliminary final to make the second grand final appearance. The reason why it's one of my favourites is because obviously I'm a Cowboys supporter. Going down to Melbourne and winning is rare enough, but smashing them in a prelim is a fantastic achievement. And as a bloke who was, you know, I was so happy to see this happen. And there's nothing better than there's nothing better than watching your team smash the Storm in Melbourne. So I loved it, and it's number 5 on the list. Number 4 on the list is, again, it's against the Melbourne Storm. It's the Warriors defeating the Melbourne Storm in the 2011 preliminary final down there in Melbourne. The Warriors winning 20 points to 12. Now, this game was very back and forth in the first half. And at half-time, I think it was 12-all from memory. I remember Sikamanu scoring the first try, I think it was, for the Storm. Then I think the Warriors hit back. I think James Maloney scored a try in that game. And I think it was 12-all at half-time. And the Warriors, oh no, it might have been 14-12 at half-time, the Warriors, actually. And then the second half, it was just back and forth. And then with might have been about 5 minutes to go, Shaun Johnson got the ball, put a nice show and go, did this awesome move. And then he got a very nice offload to Lewis Brown. He scored out wide. Johnson kicked the goal I think James Maloney kicked the goal to pretty much seal it, and the Warriors win 20 points to 12, and they make their second grand final since 2002. And yes, the Warriors did lose the grand final the next week against the Manly Seagulls, 24 points to 10. But, you know, a bit like the first game, like I mentioned with the Cowboys Storm, the Storm won their first finals game. Back then, the final system was under the McIntyre system. The Storm had it easy. All they had to do was defeat Newcastle, and I think they ended up thrashing Newcastle in the prelim, the qualifying final to get to the prelim. The Warriors had to do it the hard way. They got smashed by Brisbane in the first week of the finals, and they come back against the West Tigers from 18-6 down to win that game. Then they ended up playing the Storm. No one gave the Warriors a chance here. I think the Warriors were paying about $4.50 to win this prelim. Melbourne were fresh, had the week off. The Warriors went down there. They caused a massive upset. They ambushed the Melbourne Storm. And like I said before, there's nothing better than watching a team go down to Melbourne and beat the Storm. So it's number 4 on the list, the Warriors beating the Storm in the 2011 preliminary final. Number 3 on the list is the 2009 preliminary final where the Eels beat the Bulldogs 22 points to 12. Now, the Eels and Bulldogs I consider as the second biggest rivalry in rugby league. Now, this game was hyped up massively. I think there was a crowd of 74,000 people there. It was a big crowd. It was a big deal. Now, obviously, the Eels of 2009, it was an unbelievable run. I think at the end of round 17, the Eels were sitting in the bottom four somewhere. They weren't travelling along too well. And then Jared Hayne just went to a whole new level. He just absolutely exploded. It was an unbelievable achievement from what Jared Hayne did in 2009 and what the Eels did. They found momentum. They figured out the best way to play. And they just did so well. And they got to the first week of the finals. Parramatta had to go down to Cogra and play the Dragons. They caused that upset. Jared Hayne did that amazing try where he stepped about 9 or 10 blokes, scored that try. The Eels ended up winning that game. I think it was 25-12 or something. So the Eels were straight through to the second week of the finals. Well, they took on the Gold Coast. And the Gold Coast that year finished third, I believe. They knocked off the Gold Coast, you know. They're doing well here. They knocked off the Dragons the first week of the finals, who finished as minor premiers. And then they had to play the Gold Coast in Sydney. They finished third or fourth that year, I believe. The Gold Coast, I think it was fourth from memory. And then they knocked off the Gold Coast and they booked themselves a prelim against Canterbury. Canterbury had it pretty easy that year. I think all they had to do was defeat Newcastle. I think Canterbury finished second that year. They defeated Newcastle. I think it was 22-12 or 24-12. They beat Newcastle. They had the week off. A home prelim at ANZ Stadium against the Eels. Their arch rivals. A huge game. A huge deal. And the Eels did it. 22 points to 12. Unbelievable game of football. Jared Hayne had a big game. And it was just an unbelievable moment. It was an unbelievable game. And it was something that I won't forget. It was one of the great games of finals football that I've seen in one of the best finals football games I've ever seen. And what a fantastic achievement for Parramatta to go from 8th all the way to the grand final. Obviously, they got beat by the Storm 23-16 by the Surrey Cap cheating Melbourne Storm side, which was confirmed the next year. But anyway, Parramatta getting to the grand final, winning the prelim against their big rivals, unbelievable. And it's in my top 3. It's in my top 5 favourite finals games for a reason. So it's number 3 on the list. Number 2 on the list is the 2010 grand final where the Dragons beat the Roosters 32 points to 8. Now, this was unbelievable. It was the first grand final the Dragons won in a very long time. I know they merged back in 99, I think it was. But for this Dragons team, it was their first grand final. But if you're going to go by history, it's the first grand final they won in like 33 years or something. From memory, the Dragons beating the Roosters 32 points to 8, beating one of their rivals. It was an unbelievable achievement. Now, the Dragons that year, they finished first. They were minor premiers. The first week of the finals, they played Manly. They absolutely demolished Manly. I think it was 40-0 or 40-10 or something. They destroyed Manly. Had the week off. They had the preliminary final against the West Tigers, in what was one of the great finals games. It would be in my top 10 if I did a top 10, but Dragons beating the West Tigers 13 points to 12. An unbelievable preliminary final between the Dragons and the Tigers. A cracking game. It was 12-all. And then with about 7 minutes to go, Jamie Sowell kicked the field goal from about 30 metres out. And then at the end there, the Tigers had numbers. They had a chance to try and win the game. Then they kicked it over the top. Darius Boyd caught the ball and ran the ball dead. And the Dragons ended up winning. And in the grand final, they were down at halftime, the Dragons. The Roosters led 8-6 in the grand final. And then the Dragons ended up coming over the top of them in the end. I know Mark Gasnier was the first try scorer in that grand final. And it was an unbelievable for the Dragons to win the 2010 grand final. The Roosters did well to get there. You know, they'd come from 6th position that year. They beat the West Tigers in that game that went for about 100 minutes. They beat the 3rd place Tigers. Then they had the semi-final game against Penrith the week after, who finished 2nd that year. They demolished them 42 points to 12. Then they had the prelim final against the Gold Coast up at Suncorp Stadium. They destroyed them. I think it was 38-12 or something. It was a big scoreline. The Roosters were too good in that one. And then the Roosters fell short in the grand final of the Dragons. But an unbelievable grand final for the Dragons to win their first grand final in about 30-odd years or so. Unbelievable for the Dragons, and a good moment for my dad as well, who's a big Dragons fan. I remember the game well. So it's number 2 on the list. And number 1 on the list, you already know it. My favourite finals game ever. / grand final. The Cowboys and the Broncos, the 2015 grand final, where the Cowboys won in Golden Point, 17 points to 16. I'll just go through the big moments because I'll talk all night about the whole game if I go through the whole match now. Obviously, I think it was 16-12 the Broncos. It was obviously 16-12. There was about a minute to go, probably about 20 seconds to go in the game. Jonathan Thurston gets the ball. He's being pressured by Adam Blair. Throws a cutout pass over to Michael Morgan. He's going to take on about 5 or 6 defenders. He just pretty much takes them on. Puts on this amazing flick for Kyle Felt. He puts the ball down in the corner. He scores. The crowd goes absolutely nuts. It's unbelievable. And then Jonathan Thurston has a kick to win the game from the sideline to win the grand final 18-16. He kicks it. It's coming back. And for all the money, you can put your house on it to go through. It hits the bloody post, of all things, the goddamn post. And then it goes to Golden Point. The Cowboys kick off through Kyle Felt. It goes up. And unfortunately, Ben Hunt just drops the ball unexpectedly. No one saw it coming. I couldn't believe my eyes. When I watched it live, I nearly had a heart attack because Ben Hunt just cost his team the grand final. You knew the Cowboys 20 metres out on the attack. You knew they were going to kick a field goal. It was going to be pretty impossible. Now, I got a little bit nervous because when the Cowboys had the scrum, they were setting up. They went to first and straight away. I thought he was going to take the field goal. I'm glad he didn't because he had Broncos players all over him and he took the tackle. And then I think it was tackle 2 or tackle 3. Bloody Lachlan Coote. I honestly thought he was going to take the field goal. I went, no, don't. And then I think he threw it to Kane Linnett. And then I think he came back in and Talmay took a head up. And then Granville dummy half. Back to Jonathan Thurston. Bang. Field goal. Cowboys win the 2015 grand final. The first grand final in their history. And it's an unbelievable moment. Unbelievable game of football. One of the best grand finals you'll ever see. One of my favourite NRL games of all time. It definitely is my favourite finals game and NRL game of all time. Absolutely love the moment. The Cowboys winning the 2015 grand final. Something that I will never, ever forget. But anyway, guys, that was my top 5 favourite NRL finals games of all time. Let me know your top 5 in the comment section below. But anyway, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you guys go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I hope you guys had a great Christmas. Also, if you want to donate to the channel and support the channel any way you can, there is a link in the description below via PayPal. It's up to you if you want to donate to the channel, if you want to support it. But anyway, guys, I'm out of here. Have a fantastic Christmas day, night, and I'll see you guys in the next one.